Hi, I'm Erin Lucy, and welcome back to my channel. I'm finally talking today about everything that I read in July. July was not the best reading month for me. I just felt very stuck. I have so many books that I started or even got halfway through, and just I don't know, I was having a struggle finishing. I'm not going to share any of those because I do plan on finishing them. I'm not really going to DNF them. A couple, my holds or my loans expired from the library, so that was kind of annoying, but I waited too long to start them. So yeah, I read 5 books this month and definitely behind on my reading goals, but just the way it goes sometimes. The first one I started, and actually the last one I finished, was Bloodlands by Stacie Marie Brown. And it's the 5th in the Savage Land series, so I'm not really going to talk too much about the specific book. The series, as just a brief overview, the first one starts I think 20 years after the Fae world and the human world have merged in this weird way. There's a lot of reference to that merging event where magic entered the human world. And now everyone lives amongst each other. So of course there's lots of turmoil, political issues, and this series follows this girl Brexley, and she is human and she lives in human world, or not the human world. She lives in this human kind of compound with a lot of other, I don't know, powerful political people. She is trained by the high ups of the human side, but of course there's a lot of rivalries and problems between the Fae and the humans. And she leaves in the beginning of that book. She is, I don't know, she kind of does some reckless things kind of for fun. She ends up going out into the Fae world and figuring out that things are not what they seem, of course, and goes on this whole adventure, meets all these people. It's very spicy. The whole series, I think, is probably the most, or the spiciest series that I've ever read. It's definitely a lot sometimes, including in this 5th book. The 5th book took me an entire month to read. I was when the beginning of the series, I was reading these books really quickly, and it was a fun fantasy, just tear through it really quickly. But I don't know, I feel this series should have been 3 or 4 books. And that's kind of maybe partially I originally thought it was going to be, so I feel I'm continually forcing my way to just keep going, because she keeps putting out one more book and one more book. The 6th one just came out, which is the way I read this 5th one, but now I'm not even sure I'm going to read it. I think I'm just too disconnected from the story to be enjoying it a whole bunch anymore. And there's some things about the main character and how she's portrayed, just in terms of, drawing all the men towards her always, and just being this I don't know, sometimes it feels kind of excessive. But Savage Lands, the first couple I really enjoyed, and I do think it's an interesting concept, and for me relatively new and different, although I'm not the biggest fantasy reader. So Bloodlands was the first one I read, and then You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty, which is by Akweake Emezi. And I talked about this in my mid-year freakout because I wanted to love this so much. I really did, and I feel so sad that I didn't. I feel so sad about it because it just did not hit with me. It's about this woman, Faye, and she lost her husband 5 years prior and was just completely heartbroken and devastated, and is kind of trying to come back to love and learn how to love again. In theory, I don't know, it sounds like an interesting premise, and she meets these different people in the beginning and ends up going to this island with this guy and having this whole kind of adventure with love. And I don't know, for me, I just was really too turned off by some of the ending. I don't want to spoil it, but I feel it was taking trauma and spice and love, which I do feel is realistic. I'm going to talk about it in same thing in another book as well this month. But For me, I just like it didn't totally hit the way the main characters, I felt like kind of were a little bit or a lot selfish, and like I feel like that was a little bit of the point, but also like it kind of felt like they didn't see anything wrong with what they were doing and didn't have any regard for other people like in the story or around them, their like feelings or their own trauma that were tied to like the loss of people. So I don't know, I would look it up if I were you, if that's like sounds like your thing. Like it is a love story, there is spice, which I didn't expect too. I don't know why. I thought this was gonna be more like literary fiction, and I think that's maybe what has confused me about the 2 romance books I read this month, because I didn't expect it. Like for this one, I expected it to be literary fiction, and then it was like very spicy and like very romancy, but still had some other aspects of it. So didn't love it, and I'm very sad about it because I really wanted to. Yeah. Next is Earthlings by Sayaka Murata. And this is crazy. I talked about this also in my mid-year freakout tag, because I don't even know. It's crazy. The quick premise is that Natsuki believes that she's an alien living amongst the Earthlings, and like she 100% believes that, and this book like goes into her childhood and some of like the influential parts of her childhood and then adult, and how like this belief like impacts, I think, her relationships with others, but also how like the interactions she's had with other people have impacted and like drawn her towards these like certain worldviews. So I thought it was excellent, but so many trigger warnings. So definitely check those out because it's disturbing and bizarre. Like this is such a strange book. I can't even like begin to explain. I enjoyed it because it makes you think about these things a lot. And I know I'm gonna be thinking about this for months and months to come. And I honestly don't even know how to rate this one though, because I don't know what to feel about it. It's so strange. There's just so much like trauma and tragedy. I like cried at so many points in this. Listening to how like her mother treats her, I think was really hard and really sad to me. And yeah, just like how kind of the world views this character. So that is Earthlings. I definitely want to read Convenience Store Woman now. I really enjoyed the writing, and this like I could not put down, which is impressive because this month I was having such a hard time picking anything up. So this one and the next one I could not put down, which was really good, kind of get me into reading a little bit more this month. So yeah, Earthlings, fantastic, very strange, similar vibes to like kind of I Who Have Never Known Men, and like just like very like theoretical, like what is life, and how our like experiences like can or have the potential to impact the world. And it's also like really kind of like rejecting and going against the grain and like trying to not conform, this book in particular. So yeah, Earthlings. So next is The Heart Principle by Helen Hoang. Never read one of this author's books before, and I mostly enjoyed this one. However, I do have some problems with it. I feel like it was similar to You Made a Fool Out of Death with Your Beauty, and just that like the trauma mixed with the love story was very interesting. So essentially Anna is this woman who is a professional violinist, and she has struggled though a lot of her life. Like she feels like fitting in and being like normal. She always feels like she has to like conform to what everybody else wants or expects of her and like say yes to everything, which I know I'm sure a lot of us can relate to. In the very beginning, her boyfriend is like, oh, do you want to be in a, or no, he doesn't even ask her. This whole part really annoyed me. Every single secondary character in this book really annoyed me, to be honest. But her boyfriend in the beginning is like, so, you know, like, I think you're the one, like, I want to, you know, probably marry you, but I just want to, like, play the field for, like, a few months, you know, like, let's just, like, take a break, and, like, he wants to just sleep around a bit. and then like come back together. But like clearly he doesn't really want her to sleep around. I mean, anyway. So, but of course, like she's like, okay, like I'm gonna try this. Like I'm gonna try to date. Like of course she's really upset, and yeah. But so she meets this guy early on who like they connect on like a whole different level, and you know, start seeing each other, and things go from there. There's a lot. So my problem with this book was I just feel like there was too much for one book. Like I loved the first half of it. Like I thought it was so great. Like it was just like it talked about like love, relationships, and like intimacy in like a way that I don't think is always addressed. That probably makes people like feel othered in like certain ways. But also she's like diagnosed also pretty early on with autism, and she has to like deal with that and think about that. And I thought it was just like a really interesting, in like a romance, a really kind of interesting aspect that I really enjoyed, and I really thought it was like well done. The problem is just that then we go into this like family drama with Anna and her family, and her dad is like gets really sick, and those things are like realistic, and I feel like I wasn't sure how to feel about it, any of it, to be honest, because I just felt like we were on this roller coaster, like of being like super intimate, like a really spicy scene, and then all of a sudden it was like really heavy and traumatic, which is fair and realistic, but I think I was just too on like a roller coaster. I had like a hard time in the second half, like being excited or understanding what was even like really happening. And I really just think that it was too much to be in one book, and I feel bad saying that, but there were so many things. Like I was looking back on it to like talk about the summary, and in the beginning there's this emphasis on her like having this video of her playing the violin go viral, and she's struggling throughout the whole book with like wanting to play the violin and like these work struggles, and like there's just so many things like for both her and the other character, the love interest, like they both have so many things going on, which I guess is real. Like that's kind of what life is. There's always like a lot going on. But I feel like because of that, it was like really hard to get into any one thing enough to me. So that's kind of how I felt about it. I feel, again, really bad because I've also heard I like listened to the audiobook for this one, but I've heard some of it is like a bit autobiographical. So I feel really bad like saying anything about it because there's a lot of like trauma and really deep things in here, and I really respect the author and anything she's been through. But yeah, I think it just started getting to be too much at the end. There was like all this stuff with her sister, her mom, her family, work, her dad, like, but then there's also like this kind of strange plot line of like this romance that was like also super cute, like an amazing, like I liked the different aspects of it, but I think all together in one, it was just like a little bit too much. So the heart principle, and I liked the writing, and again, I liked those different aspects of it. So I'm definitely gonna read more of her books, but I just wasn't sure what to feel about this one. I feel like this was a month of just not knowing what to think. I'm not even sure I'll put ratings in these because for most of them, I felt weird giving them a rating, or like I don't really know what to think. Usually I put it in the description box, but we'll see. So, very strange reading month. I almost completely forgot to talk about this book. I read towards the beginning, I've read this when I was like a kid, but it has been a really long time, and I read Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and completely forgot. So I will link the vlog I did about this book. But it was really fun to reread. And there's a lot of things like I didn't totally remember or remember happened like in this one versus like later ones. So that was really cool. The illustrations were awesome. And it was really nice to read like a quick, more like middle grade book that I could just like get through, knew the story, and just have a fun time reading. So yeah. I mentioned at the beginning that like I'm halfway through so many others and I've just been struggling to get through. Yeah, I would love like if you guys have any good tips on getting out of like reading slumps, that'd be great. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.